still alive.
For those of you who just tuned in now, it wasn't as exciting as we thought it might be. It was a brilliant performance by the Sri Lankans. They won this game comfortably by 8 wickets. And there's no doubt this is the greatest test performance by Sri Lanka inside of the shores of South Africa. They win the series 2-0. Brilliant tight game in Durban where they won by 1 wicket, but a comfortable victory in the end here in Port Elizabeth, winning the second test match by 8 wickets and wrapping up the series 2-0. Time for the post-match presentation. Let's go down to Mark Hazen.
Okay, presentation time. Before we go any further, we'd like to thank the sponsors involved in this series. Castle Lager, of course, they've been involved with cricket in South Africa for a long time. We thank them again for their support for this one, South Africa versus Sri Lanka. Now, before I introduce the gentleman alongside me, we need to just say congratulations to Sri Lanka. They become the first subcontinent side to come to South Africa and win a series. So congratulations to our tourists. Well done, guys. Congratulations. The dignitaries alongside me: Donovan May, the president of the Eastern Province Cricket; Muhammad Ali, who's a Sunfoil representative of the Eastern Cape; and also we've got Zach alongside us, the King Protea. Zach, thank you, gentlemen. An update about the Sunfoil Education Trust, and thanks to Sunfoil as well. There are money earned for 4s and 6s, or there is money earned for 4s and 6s and also wickets. The total for this match is 180,500 Rand, and the total for the series is 400,000 Rand. So thanks very much to Sunfoil. That's going to go to a very good cause, obviously, as an education trust. Okay, can I ask Faf, please, to come forward? Faf du Plessis. Right, Skipper, first of all, how disappointing is this series result for you? How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, very disappointing. Probably up there with the most disappointing, I think, certainly from my own personal point of view, and also from a team perspective. You know, you don't want to be losing series at home. And obviously we didn't play our best cricket, but credit to the team that came out on top to beat us in our own conditions 2-0. You have to do something right, so well done to them.
I know you said a lot to the team and spoke to them after the last test match in Durban, and it was obvious you wanted the batting to improve. 7 for 38 in the second innings is not the answer, right?
Not at all, Azzy. I mean, I thought we were pretty poor with the bat right throughout the series. I think in general this whole series, both teams probably underperformed with the bat. 2 pitches that were very conducive to scoring runs. You know, even this test match here, I thought today for the first time there was a real... what should have happened the rest of the series. You know, 2 guys getting together, scoring up some big runs. And on this wicket, we should have scored a lot more runs. There's no fingers to be pointed at the wicket. Obviously, they bowled well, but I think the biggest disappointment, as you rightly say, there lies within the team and the batting. We've got some really good batters in there, but probably 99% of the dismissals was soft judgment errors, and that's only finger pointing backwards to ourselves.
How do you reflect on 31 wickets falling in the first 2 days of this test?
It's absolutely mind-blowing, Hazy. I was standing there in the field and I was thinking the same thing. Batting out there yesterday, I thought it felt like a really good wicket. You know, even the first innings, yes, there's a little bit of nip now and then, but actually a nice batting surface. So I can't give you that answer. I think it's, if you put it down to bad batting from both teams, and then today they showed that if you apply yourself, you can make it look easy.
I know the South African cricket team over the years has wanted a very proud record wherever they go, obviously, and it's good in Australia. It's been good at home, obviously, except for this series. I mean, that's a big dent, right, to your plans, your thoughts, your future as the team goes forward?
Yeah, massive dent. I thought up until this test series we were looking good. We were playing well at home. We were playing positive, aggressive test cricket. But this last 2 test matches we weren't on as a team. I wish I can give you the answer to that. We prepared the same way that we normally do. We didn't take them for granted. I mean, as I said before the series, they're a team that can beat any other team when they go there. Maybe perhaps end of season, you know, the guys have played a long season of toiling, and then perhaps mentally you're just a little bit off the boil. But that's once again not an excuse. I think that's probably the one thing that I can put my finger on.
So how do you, and finally, how do you as captain and Otis as well as a coach, how do you guys address this?
Well, obviously there's a 3, 4, 5 months, big 5 months coming up for us. So for us it's, you know, making sure that your preparation never takes, you take that for granted. If you see that the guys are starting to slack a little bit in terms of that, then you address that as quickly as possible, because that's one area that you can control the way you train, control the way you prepare for opposition. Obviously they're nice and confident now leading up to the one-day series, but the guys should be very motivated for what's lying ahead. There's a one series and then it's the World Cup, so we want to try and play our best cricket. But it's important for me and the coach to make sure that we're on the money, to make sure there's no little small weaknesses creeping into the dressing room.
Faf, thanks for your honesty, and we'll see you in the one-day series.
Thanks, Azzy.
Okay, Faf du Plessis clearly very disappointed with what has happened throughout this series, as he should be as captain of South Africa. Okay, I'm going to now introduce the man of the match. Now, the man of the match went down to the last day, really, and it was someone who steered the ship superbly today, involved in a big partnership of 163 also. The man of the match was Kusul Mendes. Kusul was going to get his trophy. 84 not out in the second innings, exactly 100 runs in the game, 13 fours in his 84 today. Kusul, well played. We know what a wonderful 2018 you had. I mean, what did that do for you as a player in 2018?
සතුටුයි කියන්නේ මේ අවුරුද්දේ මට මේ වගේ ලකුණු ප්‍රමාණයක් ගහන්න පුළුවන් එච් එක ගැන. ඉතින් ඒ ගැන මම ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙනවා. මොකද මම මේ අන්තිම ඉන්නේ තමයි මට මේක කරන්න පුළුවන් උනේ. ඒ ගැන ඉතින් මම ගොඩක් ටීම් එකෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් එච් එක ගැන ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙනවා.
He says he's very happy that he has done well in this game, as he did well in 2018. He wants to continue that same form here, and he's very happy that he has done something for the team in this particular match.
Thank you, Coach. Nice to have you here too, by the way. Thank you. Don't go too far.
ඇත්තටම ටීම් එකට මම ගොඩක් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. මම බැට්ලින් වල මට ගොඩක් උදව් කරා. කැප්ටන් ඇතුළු හැමෝටම ස්ටාෆ් එකට. අජන්තයි thank you. මගේ ඇන්කල් එක මේලා තියද්දී එයා තමයි මට වඩා එයා ගොඩක් විශ්වාස කරා මට ගහන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඉතින් එයාට ගොඩක් මම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඇත්තටම ලංකාවේ ක්‍රිකට් දන්න කට්ටිය විතරයි අපි මාත් එක්ක හිටියේ, අපිත් එක්ක හිටියේ. ක්‍රිකට් දන්න කට්ටිය විතරයි මාත් එක්ක මට උදව් කරේ ගොඩක්. මම ඒක ගැන ගොඩක් සතුටුනා. මට මොනවා කිව්වත් මගේ ටීම් එකේ මාත් එක්ක හිටියා. මට කොච්චර අපිට මොනවා දේවල් මොන මීඩියා වල මොනවා කිව්වත්, සෝෂල් මීඩියා මොනවා කිව්වත් මට ටීම් එකේ මාත් හිටියේ. මම ඒක ගැන ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙනවා. ක්‍රිකට් දන්න කට්ටිය විතරයි හැමදාම අපිත් එක්ක ඉන්නේ. ස්තුතියි.
Coach?
I think that's a handful of things. He said he likes to thank the support staff as much as well as the person, the physio who made it happen for him in this particular match. He he twisted his ankle, but he managed to play this match because of him. As well as he wants to thank the team for the support they have given him, as well as the others, and he's very thankful for that, and he's very happy at this moment.
Congratulations to Kusul Mendes, and thank you very much for your assistance as well. Thanks, Coach. I'm now going to invite the Castle Lager Man of the Series to come forward. Now, the Castle Lager Man of the Series is someone who lit up the cricketing world in the first Test match. 153 not out in Durban. You can't go further than that. Kusul Perera was the top scorer, of course, in the series, and he is the Castle Lager Man of the Series. Kusul Perera. Just a quick word. Now, when I spoke to you in Durban, you just finished that magnificent knock, and you said you were pretty tired and you couldn't really get your thoughts together. You woke up the next morning. You must have been the happiest guy around, the way you played in Durban.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good comments about the all around the match, so it's really make me really happy. So I'm really pleased with that.
Now, the other guy who was in the line for the man of the series was the bloke who was your partner in the big stand at the end. Of course, Fernando, who was terrific with the ball with his 12 wickets as well. So he's played a very good role. But he's a very important member of your side now with your strategy with a left arm seam.
Yeah, of course, he did really good job for us. Obviously, credit goes to every player. As a team, we did really good job. We did really a lot of hard work in the previous past. So at the end, we lift out our country flag.
What does it mean to you, knowing you had such a big part to play in winning this series?
Normally, coach, they're saying me try to back myself. I try to do my normal game. So every time I'm trying to do my I'm trying to play my strength. So if I'm playing my strength, so I will get the results.
You must be very proud.
Obviously, we win the series 2-0. Really happy.
Terrific stuff. Well played, man of the series.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done. Outstanding stuff. 153 not out in Durban was a remarkable performance. I have one more gentleman to have a chat to, and he is the skipper of Sri Lanka, Damut Karunaratne. If you can please come forward as well, skipper. Captain, how does making history sound?
I think it's really, it's a great feel for me as a team. I think it's not easy, when you come to South Africa and win a series and 2-0. It's lots of hard work. I think guys did really well. They enjoy a lot. I think that's why we create the history.
It's been a tough road over the last little while. New Zealand, Australia. It's a big turnaround to come here and do this.
Yeah, I think, as I said, those two sides really tough, and we learn lots of things. After that, I think players want to do something better for the team and for them as well. They realize what to do and what not to do, and they stick to their basics and enjoy their game. That's why we are here now.
You must be extremely proud of the way your guys played, and particularly some of your senior players who took control at the right times.
Yeah, I think especially I want to tell the youngsters, they did really well, like Vish, Ambuldania, and the other ones, then when we come to the bowling lineup, the Kasun Rajita, Suranga, they all hands up, and they did really job for me. And the only concern is for me, first innings batting. So we have to make sure to bat well in the first innings as well. We were all the time we were behind the game, but we will come back really harder. I think bowlers did really job to keep us in the game.
There will be a lot of people in Sri Lanka right now watching this telecast. What's your message to the people in Sri Lanka after this series win?
I think I'll have to dedicate this win for all the guys who supported us, all the Sri Lankan fans who supported us, because they were really behind us when we losing time. But that's why we want to do something for them as well. So I would like to dedicate this winning for them as well.
Well said. Congratulations, Captain. Enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentation.
Yeah, the rest of the players will join their captain and the celebrations can begin. Richly deserved from a fantastic performance by the Sri Lankans, winning the series 2-0. They've got the man of the match, they've got the man of the series. It is happy times. It wasn't so leading into this tour of South Africa, but they've managed to turn it around in brilliant fashion. Hip hip hooray! The universal celebration after a test victory. South Africa, well, they're left licking their wounds and trying to turn their attention now maybe to the one-day format where they'll look to improve with regards to their performances and obviously try and compete and beat Sri Lanka in that format, and then also focus on the World Cup. But for now, that picture tells a story. They're a happy camp, and so they should be. Historic performance to win Test Series here in South Africa 2-0. As far as cricket goes, we'll be back with you next Sunday is the first of the Momentum One Day Internationals that will be happening at the Wanderers. We'll be on air at 9:30, and the match will start at 10 o'clock. 5 one-day internationals, 3 T20s, so still plenty of wonderful cricket to be viewed here on SuperSport. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with the wrap of the test match with the SuperSport commentators. For the rest of us, for those of you who are leaving us, we say goodbye from PE with Sri Lanka, the victors.
The atmosphere here is electric. Feel so alive. The atmosphere here is electric. Feel so alive.
Welcome back to Port Elizabeth. This is the scene of the second test match between South Africa and Sri Lanka, and there is the scorecard. Sri Lanka winning once again. It was by 1 wicket in the first test match. In this one, by 8 wickets. In the end, quite an emphatic victory with no wickets falling on what was the final day. The series then in its totality, a couple of test matches, Sri Lanka by 1 wicket in Durban and by 8 wickets in Port Elizabeth. 2-0, historical in that no Asian team has turned up in South Africa and won a series. They've done it. Sri Lanka, the first side to do so. A look against subcontinent teams, what it is that South Africa have done, or in fact, I should say, what the subcontinent teams have had done to them when turning up here in South Africa. It's turned around this time around. There's 1 in that column. They've lost to Sri Lanka, so congratulations to them. Yep, congratulations to Sri Lanka. Done fantastically well to win the series, and there's one gentleman particularly here who will be so happy, having come before and having played against South Africa in times past and found it so difficult. Russell Arnold, how do you feel about all that's gone on? You must be over the moon.
Certainly I am, Pommy. It was a tremendous performance. You have to consider where this team was, the problems they had, but they responded. The good thing that we kept seeing was that they never went away. They kept trying for long periods. Even through this test series, things were not working, but they were fighting hard right through. And come the end, especially in the second innings here in Port Elizabeth, is when we saw that they kind of understood how to play. Suranga Lakmal leading the attack, the seamers bringing them back in when the chips were down. They'd conceded a lead of 68, and there was nothing to suggest that they had even understood how to bat in these conditions. Yes, Kusal Pereira's 153 was a once-in-a-lifetime innings. But this morning, 2 young players played it brilliantly. Yes, Sri Lanka liked to attack, they liked to go after the bowlers. They did that, but they were good in defense. They picked the right deliveries, a wonderful balance, and a show of temperament and composure has taken them home. Hope for the future, and it will bring Sri Lanka to life with plenty more to play.
Mikey, speak on confidence, and I speak about confidence or go to confidence because coming here, there couldn't have been any whatsoever for Sri Lanka.
Well, I certainly did not believe that they could have won this series 2-0. I didn't even give them a chance of drawing a test match, to be honest, Pommy. But they have shown that they are a lot better than people thought that they were. They came in here underdogs, batting against an outstanding bowling attack. Until the last innings of the first test match, nobody knew that they could have done anything as close to what they did. Pereira turned everything around. He won that test match for them, and that would have given them a little bit of confidence coming into this test match. But then again, batting in the first innings here, they fell apart again. But Russ said the right thing, just kept on being there. If they keep on hanging in there, keep on being close in the game, you have a chance. And they went back and bowled South Africa out very cheaply, and that just brought them right back into the test match. But even so, people would have thought they ain't going to get these 190 odd runs. These guys batted beautifully today.
Let's go back. I want us to go back to Durban because we've got to speak about the 2 test matches and the series in its totality. When they arrive in Durban and Dinesh Chandimal has been sent home. They've had a horrid tour of New Zealand and Australia. How tough it must have been for individuals, number one, brought into the side, for skipper as a replacement skipper, for coaches to say, look, this is what you need to do on tour. How have they turned that around?
That is a tough one to answer. It's very difficult to understand, but it was always known when nothing's going right for you, wherever you turn, if it's issues, someone has to stand up and make a difference. Kusal did that. On his own, yes, they kept chipping away, but like Mikey said, no hope really. But someone finished the job off with something very, very special. That rubs off, that confidence follows through. So coming out here, there wouldn't have been too many plans. Let's keep trying. The seamers are the biggest plus in the fact that they've learned how to bowl fuller and keep chipping at that off stump. So it's little things that do come in, and when you get that win from nowhere, it gives you a wonderful feeling, confidence, the belief that you can go out and do that. And with Sri Lankan's skill was never in doubt for me. There was always a fact that there is some flair, there is some skill, but getting out there and doing it.
Anomalous really as an occurrence in the test match, in that first test match, because it had been about batting falling apart in both sides, and then for one guy to stand up like that, Mikey, and in the circumstances, he'd only had 100 to his name prior to that. So do you reckon this is the making of the guy? What happens then post here in his own mind, I guess, but also in terms of expectation from his side?
Well, that innings pretty much won the series for Sri Lanka. You know, when we were talking upstairs earlier on about who should be the man of the series, I was thinking bowler, you know, former fast bowler like myself. And I'm thinking Fernando. He bowled so well. But standing here now and remembering and thinking about how Pereira batted in that last innings to win that test match for Sri Lanka, that changed the entire series, changed the entire outlook, I think, of the Sri Lankan team. They would have gone back home after that test match, not home really, but back to their hotel rooms, and thinking to themselves, hey, we ain't as bad as people think we are. We have won this test match. Yes, not everyone performed, but if the other guys perform, we'll do even better. And that would have lifted the spirits of the other people in the team. They came out, they won this test match again convincingly. This is not a one-man situation this time around, or two people really performing out of their skin. This is a team performance. They lost the bowler and they still managed to bowl South Africa out for 120. That will lift their spirits no end. And this series win, well, I see them floating back to Sri Lanka. I don't think they need a plane.
There's a man floating alongside us right here after that performance. In thinking about the message that this sends then, 2 players dropped, 2 selectors and management that decided to take the step to drop some senior players, and then to those that have been put into the side. Speak about all that and Sri Lanka trying to move forward.
Well, initially, those who really brought some energy to the Sri Lankan effort going back to Kingsmead were the newer players who came in. And Buldennieff for one, the left-arm spinner, got a debut 5-wicket haul in that second innings. The grit that he showed when he came out to bat. So these are all fresh faces, probably what the Sri Lankans needed, because the rest of the players, they've been scarred and forgetting to win a game. That's why you need to win finer moments. You need to be tactically smart, which was not happening with the Sri Lankans. But when these type of fresh faces come out and make a difference, it just gives you that little lift. Talk about Osha the Fernando. Didn't get many runs back in Kingsmead, but the positivity that he brought in at number 3 was also crucial. Kusal Pereira playing his second test match back. He was not in the team.
Yeah.
Yep. He was not even picked. Came to New Zealand to play the one-days. The form was good. They kept him back for the test matches. And that was his second game, and look at what he did. So the scars were not really there. They're players coming from outside in the system. So that also says that even the domestic cricket is not too bad. Yes, it needs to be, you need to fine-tune it so that the gap is not as great. But there is some hope, something to work with.
What was good also, Pami, is the fact that you could see people learning on tour. Only 2 test matches, but you could see them learning. And I think the lower order for Sri Lanka in the first innings, they didn't get a lot of runs, but they spent a lot of time at the crease, showed the rest of the guys, hey, this isn't impossible. We can play at the crease. And look at the innings that these 2 guys played today. They left a lot of balls alone. We showed some Hawkeye footage sometime earlier on with a lot of balls that were left alone, and the shot selection. They chose to drive balls that were full or close to being full. And with those that were on a good length, happy to just block them or leave them alone. Show that they are learning. In that first innings in the first test match, it was almost a shot of ball. It was almost as if every ball that was bowled at them, they have got to score off them. And these guys have developed quite a bit in this short tour.
They left that ball well, the short of a good length delivery, and that's what's forced the South African bowlers to search for something. They were ready for it. So really, really good, and happy to see that they are showing signs of maturing. And these are tough conditions. Yes, in South African terms, probably slower pitches, but in terms of subcontinent pitches, a lot more pace and bounce, and it's a whole new ball game for all these boys.
If there was anything that we could have tried to guarantee about each day's cricket, it would have been there are going to be wickets that will fall. Every day, go back to Durban, come here day 1 and 2, and wickets galore. Not one, Mikey.
Yeah, nothing today. I think the pitch was a little bit easier batting today. We didn't see the amount of lateral movement today that we saw in the first 2 days. Not that there was a lot of lateral movement the first 2 days, but there was just enough there to encourage the bowlers. You didn't see too much to encourage the bowlers here. And as I said, the guys approached it very well. They batted well. The shot selection was well. They knew they were only chasing 197 runs. They knew only 137 today. So I think the approach was fantastic. Slightly easier batting conditions, but the approach was fantastic.
Okay, shift over. A job fabulously done by Sri Lanka, and congratulations to them. On then to one-day internationals. What does this victory, series victory, do for Sri Lanka, and are there players that overlap into the ODI squad?
There are quite a few staying on. There are 5 ODIs to follow, and the last 5 leading up to the World Cup. So they've got to get all their plans, tactical plans, as well as the personnel to be clear in their roles. Now they're nowhere in that terms. One-day form hasn't been good either. 9 changes to the squad that featured in the last ODI series in New Zealand. So that tells the story. But there are quite a few fresh faces. Oshida Fernando retains his place. Angelo Pereira didn't play. He's here because he scored a lot of domestic runs. But older faces like Upul Taranga is back. Dhananjay De Silva. There's an exciting Kamindu Mendis, who's a good hitter of the ball, very young, 19-20, ambidextrous bowlers. Can he bowl from left and right hand? I'm really pleased to see Akila Dhananjay, because you need a wicket-taking bowler in the middle overs, and Dhananjay is someone like that. Remodeled his action, so let's see how effective he will be. Only a couple of names that are missing there. Suranga Lakmal, I feel for him. I hope he's in the plans for the World Cup, because he's been the benchmark for the Sri Lankans here and leading that attack. I think he's got a role to play. And Angelo Matthews, who's 80% fit, I'm sure he will be back come close to the World Cup. But a lot of these players to put their hands up, and it's going to be exciting times because the confidence is back. Confidence is high, the feel-good factor. It does massive things for you.
I can see that. I can see
the Lions are roaring.
Oh, they're roaring, okay, yeah, and so they should be. Mikey, World Cup is what he talks about. There are plans and fine-tuning, etc. It's nicer, isn't it, for them to be working with a smile on their face?
Yeah, they'll be looking positively towards these 5 one-day internationals. A lot of new faces, as Russell said, but they'll be coming into a team that has won. Everyone will be smiling, everyone will be happy, everyone will be confident. So they'll be thinking, no, let us just sort out this one-day team. Let us try and find a way of winning these 5 one-day games, or winning just the series, and think about the World Cup after that. There'll be quite a bit of shuffling, I would think, because I don't think anyone will be finalizing their World Cup squad this early. But they'll be looking to see, okay, who can I get in this squad now going towards the UK?
Okay, well, thank you for your thoughts, Mikey Holding, Russell Arnold, congratulations, and thank you also for your thoughts. I think you did say in, where were we? We were at the end in Durban, you said there's a series to be won. How right you were. Hey, look at that. Got a crystal ball in front of you or something. Not a Tokolos, by the way. Like
Tokolos gone. Tokolos gone.
Tokolos is gone. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll look at the other side. We'll look at the other side. South Africa. What happened? What went wrong? Okay, you'll hear.
The atmosphere here is electric. You make me feel so alive. You make me feel so alive.
Welcome back to Port Elizabeth. We've had a look at how Sri Lanka have gone, congratulated them, they've won a series, first Asian side to win on South African soil, and no doubt they'll be celebrating into the night, and also those test players who are leaving all the way back to Sri Lanka. Now, a time to look at South Africa and their performance in the series, alongside two former opening bowling mates, former captain as well, Makaya Ntini and Sean Pollock. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it, in times past that you were at opposite ends, Sean?
Yeah, do you worry about Mackie killing the bird?
he always says, Mackie, you must hit the seam, man. I said, Polly, you know, most when he get out of my hand, I have no control of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Sean Pollock, you go first. Age first. Not so much as always, but
just slightly older.
Slightly, yeah. Only very slightly. Tell me your impressions at the end of it all. What are you thinking as you try to reflect on what's gone on? Because it wasn't something that was expected from South Africa or from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I must admit I'm in a slight bit of shock as to, I mean, if you had said to me, there's been quite a few things unfold in the world of cricket as of late. England winning 3-0 in Sri Lanka, I wouldn't have called that one. I wouldn't have called Jason Holder getting the 200 and Chase getting 8 wickets to beat England in that test match and then win that series. And then I wouldn't have picked them to come here and beat South Africa 2-0. I mean, it's never happened before, and this for me wasn't the strongest Sri Lankan side I've ever seen rock up. And when you look at the bowlers, you know, you had Fernando, Fajitha, and Mandilia. I mean, they were all new men. I hadn't seen much of them at all. So to think the fact that they've bowled South Africa out twice in 2 test matches to win, yeah, a little bit surprised from the South African performance-wise. We did hear rumblings about, you know, when I'm trying to assess this, I'm also not trying to come from an emotional perspective. I'm trying to come from a perspective of what I've heard and what I've seen. And what I've heard is that disappointed with the pitches. The South Africans were a little bit disappointed. Our bowling attack's good enough to bowl better than most teams in the world on any surface. So that one doesn't stick with me. Batting performance-wise, we've heard about their attitudes and how maybe they weren't quite around and they weren't quite present in their approach and with the attitude. That doesn't sit well with me as well, because if you make the mistake in the first innings, you should be able to put it right in the second test match. So all round disappointed, and coming on the back of the test performance against Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, and the next test tour is in the subcontinent against India. How do things improve? Where we going as a test team? I think that's the questions that we've got to ask ourselves, and it's been disappointing. And you can say, well, you're only asking those questions now. I was still asking some of those questions against Pakistan. Yes, we won them. I beat them 3-0. But you've got to understand that the performances at times, particularly with the batting, wasn't convincing as well. So that's my thoughts, and yeah, I'm probably as disappointed as those guys in the South African dressing room and the way they've gone.
You sound like you're still searching quite a lot. Makaya, as you look at it, what do you pinpoint, what do you say about South Africa having lost to Sri Lanka here? Again, I'll say because it wasn't expected, and in your mind you had this playing out a different way.
Probably it's, you know, we can put it, you know, so many things into the table, or, you know, but I think if we have senior players that they can be able to control the necessary things, or even the smaller things whereby, you know, when Penki says that this is what is happening in a changing room or in an environment, you know, and then you have players like Ashim. You know, those are the players that have to play as a captain with the rest of them, because as far as I know, that if you have youngsters around you, they actually picks, you know, even a smaller thing that you say and being able to utilize it. Because if the senior player stand up and says, this is not what, South Africa stands for. This is not what our culture, as we build it, from years to years, stands for. We need to make sure that we stand up and be counted. Then the youngster, they listen to those things. They actually want to add on what you have for them to be able to learn around you. So for me, it's one of those things then that if they have those little things around them, Test cricket in South Africa, we're going to have a problem. He's not going to be in a position where we need to grow. Now we drop to 3. That's a sad part. And then we look all of those kind of things, and then you asking yourself, where from here? If we cannot be able to, to win in our home ground, how far we're going to go on the outside of the country?
Yeah, I think for me too, the way they went this morning, I was giving him a bit of a team talk here, but before
I'll tell you something, for anyone who didn't see it. When you gave the team talk, you were standing right next to me, and you were quite emotional, actually. I don't know if you realised that, but you kind of went a bit red, and I thought, what's going on, Pollock? You're the most relaxed bloke I know, So if you felt that way, it's kind of interesting that, you look at things and you say you're disappointed. So await with the comment. Let's go to a presser that was had by Dale Benkenstein in attempt to explain what was going on within the camp. And then we'll hear from these gents after they hear what he had to say there.
Yeah, I think it's been not our best series so far. Pretty disappointing first game as well. Against a side that we didn't know a lot about a lot of their players. So we probably, for me, came in a little bit complacent, and I think that attitude we obviously addressed, but it's quite, I'd say the attitude that you come into a series with is very important. I think both teams actually haven't batted very well. I think the bowling, there's always a little bit in the wickets in South Africa, and we have to give, from our point of view, some credit to the Sri Lankan bowlers. A few of them, as I said, we didn't know about, so there's not a lot of footage to do your analysis with. And I think, they've bowled with good skill. We've given them a few soft wickets at crucial times. But, they, as I said, they deserve some credit. But overall, from our point of view, and I know from all of our point of views, it has been definitely not our best, and pretty disappointing. However, the game still is obviously on the line, and we'll feel a good session, good start, or good hour tomorrow morning, and it could be hard work to get those runs.
Of course, that was before the last day of the game in Port Elizabeth, and up come the statistics. Sean Pollock reacts to that. You're talking about numbers and batting and so forth, which has been disappointing for South Africa in recent times.
Yeah, Markham looked better than 29. I thought he was pretty impressive throughout the series. 10, 12, 14, Faf du Plessis 66, helped by a not out. The key batsman was Quinton de Kock. I thought he was superb to average 55, and then single-figure contributions from the bowlers. That's not what we've come to expect from South Africa, but it is a bit of a knockover effect from what we saw in Sri Lanka, and now we've seen here against Pakistan. And I think the way Dale touches on it, it's difficult for a coaching staff. Sometimes you can pick up that the team maybe aren't as sharp as they should be, or mentally they're not in the right space. But to try and turn that around it's easy to identify, but hard to say to them, listen, guys, wake up. You've got to be focused. You've got to be ready to play. And you did get that feeling, even from the performance I saw here with the ball this morning. I was expecting a real fight, and that was my big speech before. You've got to go out there believing that you can do it, otherwise you might as well go shake hands with the team already. It came out, it did look like they tried for maybe a few overs, and then it looked like, well, Sri Lanka are probably going to win anyway, so I didn't really know what much we're going to do. And that's probably not the case, but it was just what came across. And I think that's what happens in a team, is you do pick up the cues, and sometimes the players get a bit upset with you when you have a dart at them. but it's because you can sort of see into the future, or you can understand where they're at and how they need to be in a better space, or mentally in a better space to do what they have to do from a job perspective. So I think performance-wise they've been average with the bat, and very disappointed, and there's a lot of soul-searching to be done, and particularly with the Tour of India coming up, where it's going to be immensely challenging facing those spinners on those surfaces. And who's still around? You know, does personnel change? Are people going to stop playing for South Africa after the World Cup? All those things are going to have to unfold. We have to wait and see.
Makaya, let's start to sort of move forward. Tell me your thoughts. I suppose, first of all, before you do that, speak about the morning when, in setting up before the start of the day, he's talking about his big speech, and you expected there would be a fight and they would get quite a few wickets rather than kind of just roll over.
Yeah, for me, I was the first one. You know, I thought from our point of view, and then seeing how the wicketers actually behave in the first hour. You know, I was the first person to say, I know South Africa, they easily can bounce back and then bowl Sri Lanka out. Because I really believed that, you know, if you wake up, you come in, you are fresh, you are ready to go. You know, so I had that self-belief that South Africa, they can really, you know, Delstein, Kagiso, and Oliver, they are the leaders of their attack. They can easily turn things around, you know, but yet absolutely there was nothing happening, and then they didn't even do what I thought, you know, they could have done it. Yeah, way forward, you know, Paulie has touched in so many aspects, you know, of how things, you know, could be turned around. But again, who we are, I'll say that all the time, because it's one of those things that then when you're saying that the stuff or the people that they do, the selection and all of that, they are the one now, they need to rethink and go back to the drawing board and say, where did we go wrong? You know, so those are the things now that they need to look at it. Yes, you know, from the bowler's point of view, I would say that I think the fatigue as well, because they bowl 3 days in a row. They bowl in the morning, the next thing in the afternoon they have to start bowling again. So where will you draw the line and say this doesn't really give South Africa a credit in saying that we actually being beaten by the good team? No, that one I cannot even put my hand into it and say we are beaten by the good team. We didn't. We were able to bowl Sri Lanka in the first innings less than what we were bowled out of. And then I was expecting exactly the same thing on the third day, that it could happen again.
Okay, well, I tell you what, as the coaching side of things, and as Sean Pollock said, it's tough for coaching staff. It's tough because, well, they've got to identify things and then try to put them right. But once you're sitting on the side, there's nothing you can do once your charges are on the field. What about Otis Gibson? What does he think? What does he feel about what's gone on here? Here he is talking to Mike Haseman.
Otis, what are you feeling right now? What are your thoughts?
Clearly very disappointing, Hazy, you know, to lose 2 test matches in the manner of which we've lost. Very disappointing. We just haven't pitched. We haven't really, from a batting point of view, we haven't really applied ourselves. And you know, Sri Lanka came here, a team, you know, on the road for quite a while. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for them, and they came here and they applied themselves the way that we obviously didn't, and we paid the price.
So what about the situation where you can score lots of runs on tracks which are not that batting friendly early in the summer? Yeah. The tracks are slow and they're pretty consistent, very consistent, and you can't. Yeah,
well, I mean, that is the thing, you know, and you can't put your finger on it. We've trained and prepared exactly the same way that we did for the so-called better teams, you know, the Pakistan earlier and the India and Australia last year. We prepared exactly the same way. We spoke a lot about them being the fact that they were on the road for a long time and almost like a wounded animal, if you like, and the way that they will come out and they've got nothing to lose, clearly, you know, and we just started in Durban. We never got really enough runs, even though we gave them 305 or whatever to win that game, and then we couldn't get the last wicket. They got over the line, and then they got the momentum. They came here again, and in the end, the partnership at the end, they showed us exactly how you should be batting in Test cricket, and we haven't done that for this series.
I'm picking up a couple of words around the place and some of the articles that are being written. after the first test and during this one about SA underprepared. What would you say about that?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree at all that we were underprepared. Did we underestimate them? Perhaps a little bit, but I don't think we were underprepared. You know, I think we like I said, every test match we prepare pretty much the same way. You know, we have a formula that's worked before for us. We get here 2 to 3 days before. We go to nets. We do all the video analysis and everything. They had some new guys that really came to the fore. The left-handed seamer, we hadn't seen much of him. Again, you can look at as many videos as you want, but you still have to go out and play. And he bowled really well up front, especially with the new ball. He took important wickets with the new ball. And put us under pressure early on, you know. And as far as the batting is concerned, we bowled them out under 200 3 times, 3 innings, you know. So we didn't bat very well. They didn't bat very well either, but they batted well when it mattered. And you know, this innings and the second innings here and the second innings in Durban is what cost us. You know, one guy had a blinder in Durban, and then today, to be fair to the two guys that batted today, they played also really well, you know. And you could see perhaps that the sting had gone out of us. We'd invested so much energy as a bowling group into the first game and into the first innings here that you could see, you know, the sting had gone out of our attack a little bit, you know. But fair play to them, you know, to their coaching staff, to all the players. You know, like I said, they've been on the road a long time. They came here and they've turned us over, you know. So we, of course, we're very disappointed, but we have to lick our wounds and get on with it.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
No problem.
Lick their wounds and get on with it. And I guess what he gives us there, Otis Gibson, is what happened. And essentially, I'll take his words, can't put his finger on why. It's near impossible, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you try and get to the bottom of it, and we mentioned the words at the front about they just didn't pitch up. And it's almost a parenting role as a coach at times. You know, sometimes you have to be able to talk straight with your players and also give them a bit of a wake-up call to make sure that they don't make mistakes or that they're in the right space when they go to school or when they go to friends' houses or the way they perform or behave in front of you know, people around the place. And I think that's what he's disappointed with, is because he couldn't really put his finger on the fact of how he could have identified that they were going to be underperforming and not pitch up. And I think that's the biggest part, because they prepared the same, they discussed the same, and I can assure you that in that dressing room they would have mentioned complacency, guys. We've won 3-0, we can't afford to be complacent. And I thought they wouldn't be, because you had 3 or 4 or 5 guys who test specialists who come into the equation not thinking about the World Cup, not thinking about the one-day format. So they should have been able to refocus, and that's why there'll be the disappointment. The ODIs is the key for the season, isn't it? Because they move forward and it's got the World Cup coming up.
Could that have been in mind somewhere?
It is, but if that's been allowed to affect the performance, that's disappointing, because you call professionals for a reason. You have to put certain things out of your mind and be able to focus on the job at hand. The job at hand was a 2-match test series against Sri Lanka, which you should have won convincingly on your own home soil, and they didn't manage to do it. But anyway, I suppose the nice thing is that sometimes you end off a season with losing a test series, and now you've got 5 or 6 months to deal with that. Sunday we'll be having our first one-day international, and the World Cup's on the way, so we'll be able to brush this aside and maybe think about it before the tour of India.
Brush it aside? Did you say that?
Well, I'm saying they'll be looking to do so and try and refocus on something else.
Okay, well,
because it wasn't pretty.
Hopefully there's some solutions that they arrive at, you know, before they turn up to the next tour, because you can't just sort of turn up again and hope it will be okay.
No, there's lots of decisions that need to be made, but it's going to be all about one-day cricket until the end of the World Cup, and then rejig, rethink, are there people retiring, are there people going to be around, what's the best way forward?
Makayantini, one-day internationals, does this that's happened in the test matches affect South Africa when it comes to the one-dayers? Also in light of this World Cup that Sean Pollock is talking about and preparations?
Not really for me, because if you look at the squad that play test match, and then you have almost about 7 players that they're coming in. Those 7 players, they actually brings, you know, the new energy within the system. So they could really, you know, uplift those that they play test match and play one-dayers as well, you know, with that new energy. So those are kind of things that I think, you know, test match and the one-dayers, there will be no much, you know, worry because of those, you know, reason I just put, because we've got 7 new players, and then even those that they come in, you know that they can easily win games for you without even have to worry about.
Now, speak about selection. Why I say selection is because it's World Cup year, because in recent times in one days we might have thought that against Pakistan would have seen a squad that was pretty much done, and it's about World Cup and kind of making sure the squad is combining together. They haven't selected one yet for the Sri Lanka series, but it seems it's quite a haphazard, isn't it? Whoa,
of course.
Who's in, who's out? We're not sure.
You know, this is a beauty of this country, where you have a bucket of players that they put in their hand up. You know, so you are really, you don't have to worry too much when it comes to those kind of the selectors and the selection of the team to come and play, you know, the ODIs against Sri Lanka or the 2020 after that. So you really, you're full of, you know, of that pool. You can pick anyone, and then that person who jumps in and being given that opportunity, they really taking it because of what you call the World Cup.
Mackie, the bucket only comes in the T20s, the KFCs. That's when the bucket...
Oh, yeah, you're quite right. You know, but for this point in time, you know, you know, I think that we can say the bucket is too full.
Okay. But the only thing is, I think we're going to get a good understanding about where they want to go with their World Cup squad. Yes, JP Duminy, I don't think he's fit to go yet, and maybe at the later part of the series he'll be presented in the South African side. But I think we should, if they announce 15, we'll get a good feeling for what the 15 will be for the World Cup. It'll be close. It'll be down to 15 or 16 names. So we'll have a good feel. And then now you want the guys to start performing as a team, knowing what their roles are, and sort of settling into their roles in the side. So tomorrow or Monday, let's see what side they decide to come up with.
Yeah. One question before I go. It's been floating around. Is Otis Gibson going to be here after the World Cup? That's a question that's floating around. Number two, well, which players will be here from that change room after the World Cup? And I say floating around, linked with the job he's had before, perhaps as head coach in England rather than as bowling coach that he was. Sean, come on, your ear's been to the ground, right?
It's all hearsay, isn't it, really, at this stage? But we do know that the contract comes up to an end, and some of the South African players, the older guys, are they going to look to continue after the World Cup? There's a little bit of a gap between when the World Cup finishes and when teams goes to India, so that's time to settle it down and make those decisions. But those are important decisions, because I do think in the test team in particular, it's got to a stage where, whether it be selectors, coaches, captains, whoever is involved in the selection and decision-making process, we may need to have a reroute of the way forward and which personnel are the ones that are going to take us forward for the next 3 to 4 years. Every team has the cycles where you have to make the odd difficult choice and difficult decision as to who stays and who goes, and who you're going to back long term, and who the possible heroes are that are going to come in for the next few years. So those decisions will have to be made, and unfortunately there are 3 or 4 or 5 South African players who are coming near the end of their careers, whether they've got another year in them or whether it's time to go. Those are the hard decisions that are going to have to be made.
Your ears to the ground as well. What are you hearing?
Now, I don't hear anything, but I think from my point of view, you know, I want to put it in this way. You know, I don't see anything that they need to change him. If it has to be me who has to choose if he goes or he stays, I'll put my hand up and say he needs to stay, because he has made so much changes in South Africa. I'm not talking on my point of view. I think from the public point of view as well. He has joined, you know, the team where everything was starting to go way, losing A.B. de Villiers, and then what is he going to do? But within all of that, he has created that culture as well, that they don't need to go and look, you know, outside what he knows. You know, from our point of view, they should be continuing with him after World Cup.
Thank you for your thoughts, Makai and Tiri. Thank you, Sean Pollock. No doubt there'll be thoughts from you at home. Yeah, send them along. Hashtag SS Cricket. Go on social media, wherever it is. And we hope you'll be there to join us for that first Momentum One Day International. They're important, these one days. Not that any others aren't, but they have more importance because there's the World Cup that's coming up. 3rd of March, and we'll be on air at 9:30.
At the Wonders.
Yeah, we're in Johannesburg, so if you're around there, get in, support, come and enjoy the day. If you're not, catch us on SuperSport 2. They're walking out of shot already. It's time to go. It is time to go. Thanks for watching from Port Elizabeth. We'll catch you again next time. Goodbye.
4 more runs required.
He does it! He absolutely does it! One of the greatest innings you'll ever see from Sri Lanka. He's got his team to victory. He's got 150. What a historical day here at Durban. February 16th. It's a special, special day.
We will most certainly come back strongly.
South Africa under pressure, the pressure to win and not lose a series. Sri Lanka looking for victory.
It's got him. That is superb stuff. That is brilliant from Fernando. He's bowled him. That has just gone straight through him and bowled him.
They've cleaned up here to bowl South Africa out for a double Nelson.
Sri Lanka 60 for 3. Can they frustrate South Africa in the first hour?
That's out. That's a really good catch.
It's got him, his first test wicket. And Mulder's on the test wicket taker's board.
Sri Lanka 154 for 9, effectively all out.
They've gone up for that one. And the umpire's gone up as well.
Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka. Here they are on the verge of beating South Africa 2-0. Take it in. Take it in. 137 runs more to win for Sri Lanka. No side from the subcontinent has won a series in South Africa. Oh, I tell you, I don't know. I don't know which way this one is going to go.
That is a beautiful shot down the ground.
That's 4 more.
Use of the feet. This one's way back. In fact, it's left the ground. 1 to get. Clips it to the leg side and secures the second test match victory for Sri Lanka. The celebrations can begin. It's been a fantastic effort. It's a brilliant performance.
The atmosphere here is electric.